So speaking of perspective, you did just mention something about songwriting and perhaps writing from a different perspective than your own. Do you find yourself writing that way more often, or is it more life experience for you?
It's both. I think one of the things that's kind of changed my songwriting some in the last 10 years is well, two things really have. Uh, One is a Songwriting with Soldiers.
Yeah.
Is an organization that I work with that is the coolest way I get to give back, and it is dear and near to my heart. And I try to do at least one retreat, and sometimes a couple a year. They put on retreats all over the country, do hundreds of mini retreats, and uh, 12 really big, full on retreats. And you write with, you know, veterans of, foreign wars with wounds that are both seen and unseen.
Hmm.
And my job there is not to write a hit song. My job is to help them tell their story. And I watch the process of doing that change lives and become an amazingly cathartic experience, both for them and for me. And
Did Belmont and
and
Sixth come from that?
the it's not written with it, but the idea for it, because and also it's like if you're around veterans enough, you realize there's a demeanor of the way they carry themselves.
Hmm.
And Belmont and Six was actually born out of me amalgamating two different characters who were I knew were homeless. Um, and one I was able to know they both were guys who were selling. There's a local written by and for homeless people magazine called the Contributor
Right.
in Nashville, and they can sell them for $2 and they get so at the end, instead of being able to say, well, what have you been doing for the last 6 months of your life? I've been homeless and unemployed. You say, I've been in sales, right? They have a job.
Hmm.
I also wrote articles for, I mean, it's a job. Yeah, I did distribution, and so it really changes a lot of lives that way. So, um, one, I knew what went on because I used to always see this young guy, and and he was always selling the Contributor as I was coming out of dropping my kids at middle school. And so one day I'm turning the corner, you know, and I'm going to get emotional just talking about this. So I turn the corner and there's a sign with a bunch of balloons on it, and it just says, Kevin got a job.
Nice.
And I had to pull the car over and bawl right then and there, But I thought that was so cool that whoever had hired him, you know, knew enough to go, you need to let people know what really happened to
Yeah,
him.
it's a
This wasn't a bad
celebration.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a celebration. The other is that there's a guy who was a vet. I knew he was a vet from just his demeanor, but also from the way he talked, and and he was at a different spot. And I used to buy a Contributor from him as often as I could. And then one day he wasn't there, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know if he got back on drugs. I don't know if I have no idea. I have no idea what happened to this person. And you can get attached to somebody enough that you go, wow, that's really hard. And so, uh, and that was born out of that, and it that's what made me, really think about the not knowing,
Hmm.
and I wanted to really express that. And so, and that was also it was really it was a hard song to write because it was so personal to me.
Hmm.
But then also then trying to write a short story that's the sister to that experience, and was even tougher, and
Yeah.
because but it was really, but it was cathartic for me to write the short story after I wrote some of the on the I'll just fill in the audience for a second. So my last record, as you know, but not everybody else who's watching knows, was a album of 10 songs, but also a book of 10 short stories to go with. So there's a short story for each song on the record. And writing Belmont and Sixth.
It's called
Short
For You to
story.
See the Stars, just so everybody knows
Yes,
out
the
there.
name of the album is For You to See the Stars. And if you go to radneyfoster.com, the books come autographed. So there you go.
Yeah, go get it.
And I mean, you can go get them at Amazon or your local bookstore or stuff like that. But if you go to my
He'll
place,
sign them.
I've
Go to the
signed.
website. We'll
I'll
put it in the
I
description
sign
below,
them.
y'all.
Yeah, yeah. So that was a tough one to write. And also, uh, what was fun about that project is that some of the short stories came before the song, and some of the songs came before the short story. But that one was definitely one where I had the song, and I knew it's like I really want this song to make this record. But if I don't have a short story to go with it, it's not gonna.
Hmm.
You know.
Well, I've listened to all the songs. I love the record. It's probably my favorite record by you. I have not read the short
Wow. Thank you.
stories yet, though. But I'm a huge fan of like toned down, acoustic kind of coffee shop vibe music.
Sure.
Peter Yarrow just passed away from Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Yeah, I know.
He
A
was a
hero.
huge influence of mine. I met him when I was like 8 years old at a Toys R Us. And so,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
crazy, right? And so,
Wow.
I've always loved folk music because of that experience and that
Right.
kind of toned down, just the guy with the guitar kind of sound. And
Sure.
that's what this record does for me. Like the whole vibe of
Oh,
that
awesome.
record just takes me into those kind of nostalgic feel. You know what I mean? I
Sure.
just love it. And thank you for
Well,
making it.
oh, thank you. That was by intention. Uh, my co-producer and good friend Will Kimbrough, who's a phenomenal guitarist and plays with Emmylou Harris, and
Hmm.
I mean, and also a great singer-songwriter in his own right. Um, when I started talking to him about potentially producing this record with me, he said, I will, but I want to make sure that we, as much as we humanly possibly can, make sure that you're singing and playing your guitar, and that's the focal point. Because I want as many, and we'll overdub stuff if we have to, but I would much rather that we try to capture you live in the studio. And so that attitude and knowing that experience made me um, learn the songs better, play them a little differently, a lot more. Even though some of them I tracked on electric guitar, they still feel more like my living room than they
Yeah.
do, you know. And
And do,
so,
do you feel like it puts more emphasis on the storytelling as well? I feel.
yes, yeah, absolutely. And I think that was by intention too, because Will knew that I was, writing this book of short fiction to go with,
Mhm.
and as a matter of fact, he co-wrote the song "Rock and Roll Slow Dance" with me, and that was the last short story that I was writing as we were mixing the record.
Wow.
And so he was the first, he was my first reader on that. My wife was not down in Louisiana with me. We were mixing down in Louisiana. My wife was, taking care of kids and at home, and she is usually my first set of eyes on something. But I said, buddy, if you hate this, I'm rewriting the whole dang thing because you co-wrote the song with me. But you got to like it.
Yeah.
And
You
so he read
didn't
it, and he's
bribe
like,
him
"It's
much, right?
no." I said, so that because if you hate it, I'm throwing this whole thing out and starting over.